morning, everybody. Thank you for getting on this morning for our press conference to introduce Chris Young. The way this is going to work is we will have some remarks by John Daniels, then Ray Davis, and then Chris Young, and then I'll open it up to questions. And since this is a webinar, if you have a question, please press the button, and I will be able to see you, and I will call on you as time allows. So with that, we're going to get started. The participants this morning are Rangers managing partner Ray Davis, the 9th Rangers executive VP and general manager Chris Young, and Rangers president of baseball operations John Daniels. With that, I will turn it over to JD.
All right, thanks, John, and thanks everybody for joining us here this morning. As John said, we're here to announce Chris Young as our general manager, and I want to welcome Chris and his wife Liz back to the organization, along with their children Catherine, Scott, and Grant. We're excited to have them all in the family. I think it goes without saying our business has grown a lot and changed a lot over the years, and we're constantly thinking about how we can improve things, how we can get better on and off the field. We had that mindset when we were regular in the postseason, and we think and talk about it more now as we're building to get back there. As part of our end of season review, when Ray and I sat and talked, one of the concepts that we discussed was adding a senior executive to the team. We talked about several different structures that could go, and ultimately, as we walked through it, what made the most sense was this structure with adding a general manager, and that's what I recommended to Ray. It had to be the right person. Obviously, we have a really strong existing group here in baseball operations, but Chris's hire will amplify their efforts and in time challenge all of us. There aren't too many decisions in this business that are easy. Most of them are challenging. This one was quite easy, quite frankly. Sometimes you just know when it's the right time, the right person, the right fit for our group, for myself, for the team. Put simply, this is a unique opportunity to add somebody with a rare blend of skills and experiences in the business, who fits us culturally, who has existing relationships up and down the organization, and wants to be here. Chris interviewed formally over the last couple weeks, speaking with both Ray and myself. More important than the interview process, though, I've known CY for 15 years in a variety of roles. We've interacted as a player, as a opponent, as an executive. We've tried to hire him in the past, and it just hadn't been the right fit until now. Ray has worked with him on various projects with the league over the last couple of years as well, and so in a sense, we've been working towards this day for a long time. What became clear as we talked about the ideal partner here in baseball operations was what a unique mix of these key skills and traits that CY brings to the team. First and foremost, this is a leadership role. Obviously, that there's a major technical side that has to be handled, but the leadership capacity, I think, is the single biggest piece, and CY has the type of character, values, and integrity that are prerequisite to join the team and really in any role. It stood out over the years just watching how he treats people with fairness and respect, and how they're drawn to him even at times when maybe an adversarial relationship. He has the ability to relate to those in the office, those around the game, staff on the field, and players in the clubhouse. I think he'll be able to handle the technical side, as I noted, but also really have a feel for the pulse of the team. Equally importantly, CY is a winner. He's uber competitive. He's pushed himself to succeed at everything he's done in and out of the game. As we reestablish a championship culture here, I think he'll be a huge asset to all of us, to Woody, to the players, adding a sense of structure and discipline as we go. In talking about the role recently with Michael Young, he made the comment that what a unique pairing of traits it is when somebody has both humility and confidence. And I really think CY brings that to the table in a unique way. He has conviction in his views. He's got strong opinions, but he's also an outstanding listener. He's really engaged. You could tell when you talk and he hears what the other person has to say. I think these are important traits joining a group that over time will take on more of his style and more of his personality. CY will be immediately involved in all aspects of the organization, all departments. I think in time there will be areas, departments that he takes on maybe a greater role than some others, but that'll be an evolution here as we work together. This is going to be a true partnership, collaboration, not just between myself and CY, but between and amongst a very talented, caring, and experienced competitive group that we have here in baseball operations. So I'm excited to welcome CY, and before we do, I want to turn it over to Ray Davis for some thoughts.
Thanks, JD. I'm thrilled that Chris decided to come with us. As JD said, as we analyze every year, how can we get better? And that's not just the players on the field, that's also internal looks. And over the last 3 years, we've made some changes, but when you have 4 years of a losing season, it doesn't make sense to keep doing the same thing. And Chris will bring an element that will, I think, stimulate our baseball guys, and that's not an indictment of our baseball team. We've got some very strong people in that department, but we're thrilled with what Chris is going to bring to the table. We thank the Commissioner Manfred and Dan Halem that we know it's going to leave a hole in New York for the baseball, but we're thrilled of what he's going to bring to us. That's it.
Okay, and Chris, make a few remarks, and then we'll open it to questions. So the 9th General Manager of the Rangers, Chris Young.
Thank you, John. JD, Ray, thank you all for the introduction and the kind words. Obviously, this is a very special day for me and my family. As a Dallas native, I grew up cheering for the Rangers. As a young pitcher, I made my Major League debut here in Arlington in a Ranger uniform. And now, as a father, I bring my children to Arlington to cheer for their hometown team. It goes without saying that the Texas Rangers have played a very significant role in my life, and I could not be more thrilled to join Ray, JD, Woody, and other members of the organization in leading this franchise. I know firsthand how connected the Rangers are to their fans and to this community, so the opportunity to build a championship team in my hometown is perhaps the most fulfilling accomplishment to which I can contribute. I'm extremely grateful for my relationship with John Daniels, and I look forward to learning from and collaborating with him as we work toward our shared vision of bringing the Texas Rangers a World Series championship. I'd like to offer a very sincere thank you to Commissioner Manfred and Deputy Commissioner Dan Halem for providing me the opportunity to work in the Commissioner's office. In going from the playing field to the central office, I have learned so much about this industry. I have tremendous respect for their leadership, and I'm greatly encouraged about the future of our wonderful game. I look forward to getting started, and I'm proud to be, once again, a part of the Texas Rangers family. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys, and we'll open it up to questions. Again, raise your hand with the little blue hand, and we'll go to Jeff Wilson.
Well, I got a question for the three of you. So, hey, Chris, what are the things you need to tackle immediately?
I think, Jeff, immediately just getting started, I need to familiarize myself with the organization. This has been a whirlwind last few weeks, and coming in from the outside, just understanding the systems, the processes, the personnel, the people. There's going to be a learning curve here, and I'm certainly going to be all in and looking forward to that, but it's going to take a little time. I think the beauty of that is that I have a great mentors in John Daniels and the existing staff to help acclimate me and help with the assimilation.
All right. Hey, JD, you have lost, but AJ and Fad went to other jobs, other GM jobs. I'm just wondering if in the last few years, if someone has been missing in the circle who would put thoughts in your ear that maybe AJ and Thad did.
Well, listen, both those guys were, when they were here, extremely valued members of the team. Both professionally and personally, the relationships are unique. They're great contributors, and they've gone on to kill it at their current organizations. So I absolutely, having them leave had an impact, but that does a disservice to the people that have stepped up, and both people we've added from outside the organization, the people that have grown and matured and developed into real leadership roles for us here now, and they've been part of some really good things. So I don't think that it's kind of a apples to apples comparison there. But adding Chris to the group, along with some of the other folks that we've both added and developed here over the last few years, will absolutely add kind of a key voice. And I think with Chris, it's not just his opinions and his voice, but kind of the way that he goes about making decisions. I've had a chance to see that in a couple ways. He's a very thoughtful decision maker, very deliberate, very thorough, elicits opinions from a lot of other folks, brings in information from a lot of other people, and I think he's going to be a real asset in that regard.
Okay. And then Ray, you mentioned 4 straight losing seasons. You don't need to keep repeating what's not working. So in your estimation, what hasn't been working?
I think this industry has changed dramatically over the last 5 years. And one of the ways that it's changed is the volume of information that's coming from our analytics department, R&D, player analysis, the benefit of getting in ahead of some of our players and coaches, etc. And there's just the volume of information is just very, very difficult for one person to assimilate and regurgitate back out to the staff. And that's a role Chris will play to help JD gather a lot of the information. And it doesn't make sense to spend all the money in generating it if you aren't using it. And that's one place where I think Chris will help a lot.
Okay, let's go to Evan Grant. Evan? Okay, let's go to T.R. Sullivan, see if that works. We'll come back to Evan.
Mr. Young, I understand what John Daniels says about you having a wide variety of skills, which I doubt not, but if the Rangers are going to hire a general manager who's pitched 13 years in the major leagues, the fans are going to immediately want to know, what is the general manager going to do about fixing the Rangers pitching? Do you feel like that's something of a mandate that you're going to have to deal with, or kind of something that's going to be on your burden, on your shoulders?
TR, I don't look at that as a burden whatsoever. I think it's a true sign of any successful organization is that you develop internally, whether it's position players or pitchers, and certainly pitching development and getting talented major league pitchers through our system and to the big leagues, contributing to a successful franchise is part of sustained success, and that will be a primary goal. I think they're really good pieces in place, and I look forward to enhancing those and contributing to future conversations to improve upon what's already there.
What do you think the Rangers need to do differently or to change as far as the way they approach their overall pitching philosophy?
You know, TR, I think that's something that we'll dive into, and I will have those conversations, but I think it would be premature for me to sit here today and say that I have made a full evaluation and can make recommendations. That's something that comes in time. But I think that's also the beauty of where we are right now, is that we have a little bit of time to do that, that we can sit back, analyze, and on a daily basis, focus on areas of improvement. And for me, I want to make sure that I understand the personnel, the processes, the systems before jumping in and making those recommendations.
You're jumping in. I mean, it was just 2 years ago, I believe you were in the Padres spring training trying to make the team. I mean, do you feel, I mean, obviously you feel ready to take on this role, but I mean, is this going to be a big challenge for you?
Yeah, TR, no doubt about it. But I also feel like, beyond the 2.5 years I've had in the commissioner's office, I've had, 17 years on field preparing for this moment. And it's somewhat of a unique experience. It's given me a perspective, and at every step of the way, I've had an open mind and a curiosity to learn, to observe, and study what has made successful players, successful franchises, and certainly I look forward to applying that, but also learning, continuing to learn and grow in shaping the future of the Texas Rangers.
Okay, thank you, John Blake. Thank you, Chris.
Let's try to go back to Evan Grant.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, so JD, when you took over as GM of the Rangers, you did not have a whole lot of experience at the top of an organization. Chris comes from MLB, and I'm kind of curious as to how you envision the power structure or the decision-making process kind of evolving.
Yeah, I think, listen, we have been over time and will continue to be a collaborative decision-making group. Ultimately, in the past, it has been one where, I'll either make the decisions or, depending upon the scale, make a recommendation to Ray. That will largely remain the same short term, but it will be with, really a partnership with Chris and the other valued members of our team in coming up with those recommendations and decisions. And I think I know because you've hit me on the side before, and I know you may be alluding to kind of a timeline or succession here, and there's no timeline for that. The three of us have had open discussions about it. It's not a sensitive topic. We're really excited about the effort to form this partnership and to work together and to win together. Listen, at some point down the line, I hope this is a successful move if it leads to Chris ascending to that role of being the primary decision maker in the organization, and I embrace that. But there's no timeline for that, and we got a lot of work to do right now. We're more focused on that.
But you've also had the opportunity of, you had John Hart there to rely on. So how beneficial is it for Chris to have somebody, and maybe both of you guys can talk to this, to have a partner there?
I embrace being the old guy now. That's fun. I haven't been the old guy before. Listen, I think we complement each other well in the experiences that we bring. And I know I'm a broken record, but it's not just the two of us. There's a lot of really good people here that are going to be part of this. And I think that those complementary experiences, skills will benefit the organization. I think there's a lot that Chris can teach myself and the rest of us, and vice versa. I think he's been very open about what he doesn't know as much as what he can add, short term. I personally think he's going to contribute more sooner than he does, but absolutely, I think the opportunity to learn from and teach each other will be a big benefit to the whole group.
Chris, what is two-part thing? One, why now? Because you've had opportunities with other clubs to be in somewhat of a leadership position, and secondly, what do you see as the biggest challenges stepping into this role?
Evan, to answer the first question, why now? The opportunity to help win a championship in my hometown for the team I grew up rooting for, with people I love and respect greatly, is really the ultimate professional accomplishment and challenge for me. And so these opportunities do not present themselves often, and I recognize what a special opportunity this is, and I'm up for the challenge. That to me, that's everything. I am a competitor by nature, and what the Texas Rangers mean to this fan base, to this community, and what they've meant to me. That to me is the most compelling aspect of this decision, and I couldn't be more excited about that. Regarding the biggest challenges, look, I think for me it's the learning curve. I think that just coming on board, getting familiarized with the organization, the system, and understanding exactly what goes into the day-to-day aspects of the job. Certainly, I've never done that before. I was very candid with John and Ray through the interview process, and that there is going to be a learning curve. And I would consider myself somewhat of a quick learner, but I think the even more appealing aspect of this is that JD, Mike Daly, Josh Boyd, Shiraz, Ross, there is a great team in place to learn from and collaborate with, and I am extremely grateful for that, and I look forward to spending a lot of time getting up to speed there.
Thank you, gentlemen. I apologize for the technological issues here.
Not unexpected. We'll go to Levi Weaver.
John earlier say that he tried to hire you before.
You speak up a little bit, Levi.
Yeah, is this better?
Nope.
No.
No. Well,
Go ahead.
I'll just try to speak a little louder.
Okay.
We heard John say earlier that he had tried to hire you before. I was curious when that might have been, and then also when did you first become aware that this was maybe a possibility to come back to the Rangers in this role?
JD and I have had numerous conversations over the years. I think they started as a player, kind of at the end of my career, coming back, competing for a spot on the pitching staff here. As I transitioned from a player into the next chapter of my career, JD made a very compelling argument to come and work for the Rangers at that time. I was weighing that between an offer in the commissioner's office. And those conversations have sort of continued and evolved more hypothetically than anything. A few weeks ago, I don't know the exact timing, John and Ray mentioned this. They went through the proper channels of speaking with the commissioner and Dan Halem, and then reached out. And at which point I felt like, kind of given where I am in my life, how much Dallas and this Metroplex means to me and living here. Again, this was an opportunity that seemed too good to pass up, and something that has been in certain ways, a lifelong ambition. And so that's how the process transpired. And I'm extremely grateful to Ray, JD, and to everyone else in the Rangers organization, and looking forward to great things ahead.
And I just had one more. I've heard you talk about what you see the biggest challenges being. At the risk of asking you to toot your own horn a little bit here, is there any particular part of this job that you feel like, all right, I'm definitely ready for this part of it?
Well, first, I think that it's important to say that I do have a lot to learn. And so I think it would not be accurate to suggest that I will come in thinking I have all the answers or have mastered any one aspect of this job. In fact, I think that that's part of continued growth is understanding that you never quit trying to improve. I did that as a pitcher. It was a philosophy of mine as a pitcher. I was never satisfied. I always wanted to be better than I could, and each day tried to commit myself to improving in some capacity. And I expect to do the same as an executive in this role. I would say, given my background and being part of a championship team in Kansas City, I do have a great understanding and appreciation for the culture of a team and how important that is into sustaining success. Things that stand out to me from that team were just a group of guys that were hungry day in, day out, that had this inner conviction, but yet a motivation to reach their potential. And every day they showed up to the ballpark ready to play and ready to win. And that expectation is something that I would hope to enhance here. And I'm confident that we'll get there. And, again, it's going to take a little bit of time. But for me, that would probably be the biggest area that resonates with me as I start this job.
fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll go to Stephen Hawkins. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hey, Chris, you kind of addressed this a minute ago. It's kind of an ambition of yours in a long time. But at what point did you realize that maybe this was a path you would take after playing? I mean, like we said, it was only a couple of years ago. I was sitting on the back at Padres talking to you and Trevor Hoffman. It seems like it was yesterday, and here you are, already in your second executive job. Talk about that pathway and how long you expect it to go.
Oh, Stephen, yes, this has all transpired much quicker than I probably anticipated. I again recognize how much I have to learn, but sometimes you do not control the timing of your opportunities. And when JD and Ray reached out with this, ready or not, I'm here and I'm excited, and I know that I am going to fully commit myself and my family to helping this franchise win a championship. And there is a learning curve, as I've mentioned, but that said, I expect to be a quick learner, and I know that we'll accomplish great things together.
Did you always anticipate your post-playing career to stay in baseball, or did you have other, thoughts of what you might do after baseball as a player?
Well, look, I think the longer I stayed in baseball, I realized that I don't know much else in life. So I think that, as I sort of phrased it, I have a PhD in baseball at this point, and it was sort of a natural thing to stay in the game.
All right, man. Look forward to working with you, man. Thanks.
Likewise. Thank you.
We'll go to Nui Scruggs. Go ahead, Nui.
Can you hear me, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. My question here is for Ray Davis. Is 2021 about rebuilding or contending for you, sir?
Yeah, we're still going to be rebuilding in 2021, but now that I said that, I look at our minor league system, because we didn't have a season this year. I don't know how any of the pundits can realistically judge the depth of a minor league system. And you look at a lot of the players that came up and played for us this year, and I think 21 is going to be a real exciting year to watch some of these young guys. But Nui, to answer your question, we'll still be rebuilding in 21, and we'll be developing a lot of these young guys that are coming up.
And Ray, where do you rank making money and profits versus winning a title for you as an owner?
Will you repeat that, please?
Where do you rank making money and profits versus winning a title as the Rangers owner?
Well, any organization has to make money to stay in business. The Rangers proved that in 2000. So you've got to make enough money to sustain the operation. We've never taken any money out of the Rangers. We've only put money in. And realistically, I don't see this as a cash-generating business. I just want to make sure we sustain the business and we're healthy financially.
Thank you.
We'll go to Tyler Kepner, New York Times.
Hi, yes, congratulations, Chris.
Thank you, Tyler.
I wanted to ask you, you were on such a sort of a fast track there at the commissioner's office, had a good future in that area. Did you think about staying on that track and where that would have led? And secondly, how seriously did you consider the Mets when you talked to them?
Yeah, Tyler, look, I don't necessarily understand what a fast track is in the commissioner's office. For me, it was an unbelievable learning experience, an opportunity to contribute to the game at the central office. There are tremendous people there with whom I learned every day and tried to contribute to the best of my abilities to baseball conversations and shaping the future of our game. And, it was somewhat of an agonizing decision. I have a great team of people with whom I respect and admire there. And I did feel somewhat unfulfilled in that we had not accomplished everything that I had set out to in terms of my vision. That said, I come back to this opportunity is something that really I felt like is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in my hometown for a team and a franchise that I love. And it just tugged at my heartstrings that I needed to be here. It felt like the right fit. and ultimately is why I am here. Tyler, I'm sorry, I forgot your second question.
Just there was talk here obviously about the Mets. Mets were looking at you, and was that something you seriously considered? I know they can't compete with Dallas because you're from there, so maybe that's all it came down to.
I think what the New York Mets are on the cusp of doing with new ownership and Sandy Alderson. Sandy is someone whom I greatly respect and admire. He has been, like JD, somewhat of a mentor to me throughout my career. And out of respect for him, I wanted to have a conversation there. He asked me to. He's got an unbelievable vision and will do great things there. At the end of the day, I live in Dallas. My family is here, and I'm a Texas Ranger. And as much as I respect Sandy and think that Steve Cohen will do great things in New York, I belong here.
And lastly, if I could, I know you have family connections in the hockey world, obviously in the front office. How much do you think you're kind of uniquely positioned here? Because a lot of GMs are Ivy League guys like you are, but not a lot of GMs played 17 years in the pros and have family in pro sports. How much do you think all of those common factors will make you succeed here?
Well, I think, Tyler, I think those are pieces to the puzzle, but ultimately I think my love and passion for the game, my drive to win is really what should be the determining factor in the success in this role. I think that I will, approach this is the same way I did as a player. And while it's unique to have some of the background that I do have in terms of the family, I have learned a lot from my family, my brother-in-law, my father-in-law involved with the Washington Capitals, but certainly my baseball experiences, both playing in the commissioner's office and relationships throughout the game, are what I will fall back on in doing my best to help make the Texas Rangers a world champion.
Thanks, Chris.
Go to Tim Collishaw. Go ahead, Tim.
Hey, Chris. First of all, congratulations. When you came in as a player, there was a very clear line between manager and general manager in terms of what went on during games. And that's become very, very blurred over the years. I'm wondering what you thought of that as a player and what you make of that now as a GM.
Tim, first of all, thank you. That's a great question. And that's, I think, as Ray hit on earlier, part of the evolution of the game. And I wouldn't call it blurred. I would say collaborative is the word that comes to mind, and that the front offices, the coaching staffs, the players all working together, sharing one common goal, and putting a system and a process in place to achieve that goal. And I think that from my vantage point in the commissioner's office, I've been able to see that at 30 different organizations, and you really see the places that are excelling right now, and being able to kind of bring that perspective to apply it and bridge the gap between the players in the front office and the coaching staff is something that I think I can contribute to. So it is part of today's game. I think it's a very important aspect in today's game, but I think it's also my experience gives me great appreciation for how hard this game is, what the players go through on a daily basis, and how to help put them in positions to be successful.
And if I could ask JD real quick, with you sort of taking on in this relationship the Nolan Ryan role, do you see yourself selling any John Daniels beef products or working on your accent at all?
Those are good ideas, and I'm open to funding if you want to put some things out there. No, that's funny, but I think we got enough work to do here right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Mac Engel.
Hey, this question is for Ray. Ray, you kind of referenced it a little bit at Newey Scruggs' question, but for fans who are frustrated with the team's recent losing seasons, what do you want to tell them that there is hope and that this thing is headed in the right direction?
I don't think anybody is as frustrated as of this year's JD and I. And that's one of the main reasons we're privileged enough to have Chris here. But I think if our fans that watched the few games that we did play this year and saw a lot of our young guys jump from high A to the major league club, it's really exciting to see this young talent coming on. And watching them develop over the next 1, 2, and 3 years is going to be a really exciting thing, and that's why I get excited, and I hope our fan base will too.
Lastly, you mentioned how much the game has changed the last 5 years. I know when you hired Chris Woodard, John Daniels mentioned how you guys were going to invest heavily in R&D and things like that. Where you are now, do you feel like you've caught up to sort of where the norm is in Major League Baseball with that?
Yeah, JD probably ought to answer that, can answer that better than I can. But what the public doesn't see is the amount of money that we're spending in analytics and R&D and behind the scenes. Are we caught up? Yes, I feel like we've caught up, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to go ahead. So I think where we are today, and JD can answer it better than I, but I think if I had to answer it honestly, I'd say we've caught up, and over the next 1 or 2 years, we're going to be ahead of the league.
Answer that. Do you feel like you guys were kind of echoing what Ray said?
Yeah, I would agree with what Ray said. I think we've made a lot of progress. We made a lot of investments in terms of infrastructure, both in people and systems and technology. But as Chris touched on, it's really the integration of that information down to the field through the decision-making processes, and then helping your players improve and helping Woody and the staff be prepared for the decisions they've got to make and the day-to-day development that they're in charge of. I think those are the areas that that's where the top 4 or 5 teams in the game that are winning at the major league level, winning at the minor league level. Those are the things that they have excelled in, and those are areas that we're really focused on throughout the system.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if you've got your hand up, we'll work through these questions, and then I'm going to have to cut it up. So no more hands, please. Bob, you're the last one. We'll go to the line of Hannah Kaiser, Yahoo.
Hey, Chris. Congratulations. You alluded to sort of getting a bird's eye view, I guess, of all 30 organizations when you were in the commissioner's office. But I'm curious sort of what specific insights from having spent some time there that you can bring to this now that you're going from seeing all of baseball to getting to focus on one organization. And what are the things that you sort of learned getting to look across the league that you can bring to the Rangers?
Hi, Hannah. It's good to hear from you. I think that's one of the greatest things that I was able to do in the commissioner's office is seeing really all 30 clubs and how their cultures are set and what their philosophies are in their organizations. And for me, it was a great learning opportunity, establishing relationships from the ownership level down to the president, general manager, and manager level, and really understanding the continuity, the communication that exists in shaping the culture and the vision of the franchise. And certainly, understanding that the successful franchises right now are doing things certain ways that I think are enhancing their abilities to compete, to win, and sustain success. And I think that's the goal of the Texas Rangers. And so, Hannah, I think that it starts with the vision of winning a championship, and then the mission of putting the right people in place. Getting a group of players who are committed with sort of an underdog mentality. They're going to come out and play day in, day out and compete their tails off to win a championship. And that, when you have the right group, you put them in a position to be successful, great things can be accomplished. I've lived it and I've seen it now from a different view. And I'm hopeful to try to help apply that. And, I'm unbelievably confident in the group that we have here. I'm excited to get to know everyone and connect with our players, our coaches, our front office members, and help try to do that here.
What do you think you can do to change a culture? You talked about not necessarily being able to make all the changes you wanted to see in the industry-wide culture at the commissioner's office, but what do you see as like someone in your role at the Rangers? How can you shape a culture on the field?
Well, look, I think it starts with just getting buy-in into the vision itself and understanding how to achieve that. and clear communication, collaboration, continual reflection, self-evaluation. These are all things that are important. And accountability, integrity, those are all characteristics which are synonymous with the Texas Rangers. And I am hopeful to help try to enhance those things. And as we establish a culture of winning on the field, that's what goes into it.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go to Emily Jones. Go ahead, Emily.
Hey, Chris. Welcome home. How are you?
I'm well, Emily. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good. You kind of talked about, thinking about this opportunity, an opportunity like this for a long time. So I'm wondering, when you were a player sitting in that clubhouse, was there one thing that you said, if I ever get to be a general manager, this is something I'm going to do?
Oh, Emily, there's, I think I don't consider myself the smartest person by any means, but I'm smart enough to recognize that there's not any one thing that makes a team or an organization successful. So to highlight or pinpoint one thing, I would probably fall back on, it's about the people. This is a game of human beings. It's about maximizing the potential of people and finding ways to get the best out of individuals. And for me, that's the most important component to this. I felt it as a player. I've lived it. And I think that if we can start there, we'll be in a good spot.
Thanks, Chris. And JD, one thing for you. I know that, for the last couple of years, you've expressed, we've had conversations about finding more of a work-life balance. Do you feel like this is going to enable you to achieve that on a personal level?
Yeah, if Chris is any good, it will. I hope so. For both of us and the rest of the group, I hope we're all able to provide that for each other. That's, we talk about a family environment within the Rangers culture, baseball side, business side, on field, off field, and that's really important. And it really, kind of ties in with our goals, right? I love the organization. I love the community and the area here. This is our home. But it really comes down to the people that you work with. And while we want to win because we're competitive, it's that shared experience of doing it together, and that includes our families as well. So I think the chance for some additional, people rolling up their sleeves and Chris helping us win will benefit on both sides of that.
Thanks, guys.
Go to CJ Nitkowski.
Hey, Chris. Question for you regarding information and that unique perspective that you had from the Major League Baseball Commissioner's office. I'm curious about trends in the game, data, the way that we implement data, things that you've liked, and perhaps a couple of things that have stuck out that maybe you don't like.
CJ, first of all, good hearing from you. That's a great question. I think it's something that is really one of the initiatives I had in the Commissioner's office was sort of studying it and evaluating it and really determining what the future of the game should look like in terms of the flow of information. And certainly we're in an era where there is a countless information available. And, has that impacted the style of play in our game? Probably to some degree. And does it make for the most compelling entertainment value? That's something that the central office is evaluating. I think from a club's perspective, you have to utilize that information any way you can to give your team a competitive advantage, but doing so within the rules, of course. And I think that utilizing the information, and from a player's perspective, you can't make this game too complex. You have to really simplify it and break it down and understand what aspects of the information are applicable and allow you to excel and to utilize in the moment, in competition. And for me, that'll be an area that I think I can help contribute to.
And last one, I think it's just you and Jerry DiPoto in these roles that have big league playing experience. It's a difficult thing to do, but the game has changed, and I'm curious, I guess, for current players, that may have an interest in working in the front office, what kind of advice would you give to those guys and things to maybe look out for or things to do while they're still playing if this is something they aspire to achieve?
I think the best advice I can give current players who may have aspirations of working in a front office or on a coaching staff for that matter is just to continue to learn, to ask questions, to grow, to be open-minded. That was something that I did throughout my career. In fact, I can remember being on a road trip with the Rangers my rookie year and sitting in the clubhouse in Oakland and talking to John Daniels, who was on the trip, and just asking questions. I mean, I vividly recall this, and it speaks to, one, how far back our relationship goes, but continuing to have that curiosity to learn and to grow. And for me, that is a big part of this. And I think that any player who has aspirations, just being open-minded is critical to having opportunity when you're done playing.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Go to Bob Nightingale. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Chris, congratulations. And this question for JD. John, if Chris had down, would you still hired a general manager, and were any other candidates interviewed?
I missed a word or two you said in there. You say that again, Bob?
If Chris had turned you down, would you have still hired a general manager, and were any other candidates interviewed?
Yeah, so I'll take that in reverse. We vetted a lot of external candidates. We interviewed 4 internal candidates as well. Like we touched on earlier, I think there's an interview process, but when you've been around a lot of executives in the game, so much of it is personal experiences, and we leaned on that quite a bit. That's the first part of your question is a tough one to answer because I think it really had to be just the perfect fit. We weren't necessarily looking to hire for the sake of creating the position. We may have, but Ray and I didn't get to that point, and I'm glad Chris didn't make us make that decision.
Thank you.
Okay, a couple more. We'll go to Jeff Wilson.
Hey, Chris, when you were doing your research on the club, what do you like about it? What did you see that you liked besides geography?
Well, outside of geography, just the people first and foremost. It's an organization that I've really familiarized myself with the people, from the coaching staff to the front office, and then the relationship with Ray and Neil. That stands out more than anything. But really, where they are in this process in their goals to achieve a championship, that has great appeal too. Being able to come in right now and help shape the future of this franchise is something that has great appeal. And there are going to be bumps in the road. I'm not going to be perfect. I have a ton to learn, but I recognize that. John recognizes that, and I think everyone else will see that too. But in going through those hard times, we're also all going to come out better for it. And for me, that's part of the allure of this.
I know you said you have a lot to catch up on, but have you looked at the farm system? Have you looked at the current roster and things that you like there?
I think there's a lot to like, but I think it would be premature for me to start commenting on that at this point. I am familiar with the farm system and the current roster, and JD and staff have brought me up to speed on a lot of it. But there's so much more to dive into, and at this point, I think that the future is bright, but we want to make it brighter.
Thank you.
Okay, and our last question appropriately comes from Evan Grant.
Okay, we'll try this again. Ray, very quickly, had JD kind of broached this topic or power structure with you sometime previously about having 2 baseball operations executives?
Yeah, we touched on the subject when Thad left about should we be doing something, but it only, when we did our year-end review, if you will, was when we got to a serious conversation about it and JD recommended it.
And so how had your perspective changed from when it was first brought up with Thad 4 years ago?
Oh, I don't know if we were ready for it. We being primarily JD, but I think we wanted to let it play out, and then when we realized how much the business was changing this year, that we knew we needed to do it.
And last thing, Chris, you have mentioned the word compete, I don't know, 8, 9 times so far, and you mentioned that you competed and won a World Series with the Kansas City Royals. The one thing that I wonder about, the difference in the job in MLB is it was all about collaboration. Here you get to compete again. How much of the lack of that kind of competition were you missing?
Well, Evan, I don't think I really understood how much I missed it until I accepted this position a few days ago. And since then, I haven't slept much. It's just my mind is constantly racing on how we can improve things and where I can contribute, what I need to learn, and how I can accelerate that to help this franchise win as soon as possible. And so, Evan, it has lit an internal fire. My wife will laugh because she has not seen this in the last couple years, but I think it probably is more resembles the way I was as a player, and it's there's a deep drive there, and I'm excited. Again, I want to emphasize how grateful I am to Commissioner Manfred and everyone else in the commissioner's office. The experience there was unbelievable. But again, I fall back on I am a competitor. I want to win, and I want to win for the Texas Rangers and their fans.